What's going on, boys and girls, and welcome back to Nth-Level Entertainment, the most awesome geek and car culture YouTube channel in South Africa. I am your host, Zwele Tumashangu, and today we're continuing on with Superman and Lois, and we're reviewing episode 11. This was a pretty good episode. It was mainly made up of flashbacks. It basically picked up the story from last week's episode where Superman had to do the solar flare in order to deplete all of his power, and then he ended up in sort of like a coma-ish kind of state in the Fortress of Solitude. And I suppose in that time he spent a lot of time sort of like looking back on his past. And as far as the flashbacks are concerned, the story picked up where the episode where we were celebrating Martha Kent, I think it was called Smallville's Best, if I'm not mistaken, where Clark at the end of the flashback in that episode set off to go and find himself before he got to Metropolis. So it picks up from that moment, and we see that same young Clark basically unlocking the Fortress of Solitude and having his tutelage under Jor-El's hologram or memory bank from Krypton. So it was very interesting. We see a lot of callbacks to moments that were touched on in the pilot episode, where we see him in that classic Flesher suit for one. Apparently that was how he started out when he first got to Metropolis. We even saw the moments leading up to that where Martha actually gave him the suit after he came back from his pilgrimage in the Fortress of Solitude. And again, one of the things that sort of like showcase how well this show has been produced, and the attention to detail and care to quality that has been paid by the showrunners. In one of the transition scenes, I suppose, when they were showing his transition from going from young Clark to the Tyler Hoechlin Clark Kent Superman, was a scene where he was super speed running, I think, in the Arctic tundra close to where the fortress was, testing his powers. And the camera sort of like, pans around the young actor playing Clark to transitioning to Tyler Hoechlin in a very CGI-ish kind of format. It was very well done. And it was just another one of those moments, like I say, that just show, how elevated the quality of this show is when considering what passes for a normal CW show these days. So it actually goes on to explore as well how, Lois finally found out about Clark's secret and that whole dual identity thing when she was actually interviewing him on live television. And he was listening to her gossip with a co-worker, I think, about the fact that she's in love with Clark Kent and not Superman, and the co-worker was busy saying that Superman seems to be into her. We saw that kind of like, slight him in a way, which I think was, it seemed a little, dramatic and maybe even a bit childish, but I think what the writers were going for was showcasing through acting how that whole dual identity between Superman and Clark Kent is so evident, how he literally kind of sees himself as a different person than Clark Kent. But it was well done. It was very subtle for what it was. I still feel it was a bit campy, because obviously he knows he's been dating Lois for a few months, but he seems to see himself as a different person than Clark Kent. But eventually we start to see things during the episode that show that this whole trip down memory lane for Clark Kent seems to be something a little artificial, something that's sort of like imposed on him. At first I thought he was under the influence of the Black Mercy, but it turned out that it was Tal Rho who actually infiltrated the fortress while he was passed out and used some sort of Kryptonian technology to siphon through his memories and learn his identity, learn his secrets, learn the fact that he has a family. And then when we get towards the end of the episode, he actually threatens the family and forces and uses that to force him to submit, which could be the thing that happened in the parallel Earth that John Henry Irons comes from. But of course, we do know that the details in that story are a bit different in the sense that he wasn't married to Lois Lane, first of all. We don't know who he was with. It could have been maybe a parallel or alternate version of Lana Lang. But John Henry Irons is the one who was married to Lois Lane. So it's possible that they used the same sort of, how can I put it? The same sort of thing to manipulate him to joining their side, like that same sort of like weakness, the one thing that he can't sacrifice. And because we even see the lament in his own face when he arrives in the nick of time to save his family from destruction. although severely depowered, he actually has to sort of give up right then and there in front of them and show how much he actually cares for them. So we're not sure exactly how far it's going to go after that, but it seems like Tal kind of has him where he wants him. As much as he appears to be a completely fictional character that was written specifically for this story, his character arc and him as a plot device is used quite well to actually show how it is that Superman could have eventually turned evil and turned his back against the human race. So it was a great episode, It left us on a bit of a cliffhanger, in the context of what's going to happen going forward with Talro's plan, or aka Morgan Edge. But the whole thing of showing his origin from, between the time he left Smallville up until he got to Metropolis and formed a relationship with Lois was very well handled, felt very organic, just like the show always does, with, sprinkling in the family stuff there in amongst the superheroes' escapades. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And that's going to end my review of this episode. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've seen it and what you thought of it. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the thumbs up icon and leave us a like. And if you'd like to see more from Nth-Level Entertainment, be sure to consider subscribing, as well as clicking the bell icon so you are notified each and every time I drop new content on this here channel. As usual, people, I have been Nth-Level. Thank you for hanging out. And as always, I urge you to take care of each other, stay awesome, and stay chasing your dreams to infinity and beyond.